Okay, so here's a movie I think everybody should have in their collection if you're a fan of cowboys and all that kind of good stuff. This one's Tombstone. I actually bought this after I actually went to Tombstone. I had never been there before, and it just goes to show how cool this movie is. It still gets quoted. There's a famous line in this movie from Val Kilmer, and he says, "I'll be your Huckleberry." I think he really makes the movie what it is. Kurt Russell too, but all the whole movie is really good together. If you haven't seen it, you need to pick it up. This was also shot in my town in the beginning parts, so I'm privileged to have this movie. It didn't cost me too much, but I still love it. Alright, so here's a movie I took a chance on. This is with Johnny Depp, Christian Bale, and Marion Cotillard. This is based on the true story of John Dillinger. He actually came to my town. I learned a lot about him when I was watching like the History Channel. There's something about him that makes him like the person that he was. It's not that he did something good. It's just people still talk about him to this day. So there must be something to it. But overall, I have seen this movie, so I never saw it in the theater, but it's an okay movie. So here's a movie that has action non-stop. You'll never get bored when you watch this movie. It's the widescreen special edition version of Triple X. It's from the director that brought you the Fast and the Furious, obviously. There's a lot to say about this movie. I really enjoy watching it just because of the action. There is one part that I do love. It's the beginning. There's a band that plays, and I have seen them before, and that band is Rammstein. They're amazing in concert, and to know that they actually were in a movie, they don't normally do that. They are more, to themselves and creating the machine or like the monster that is Rammstein. But overall, this movie has a great soundtrack too, and it's kind of different because one side of it was like a rock and metal kind of soundtrack, and then the other side was like rap and hip hop. So it's kind of different. The rock and metal side. So what kind of intrigued me about the soundtrack was Rammstein and Flaw, all the good bands that used to come out back then. I think Drowning Pool may be on it. Don't quote me on that one, but I know Hatebreed is on there. So if you haven't seen this movie, really good. So here's one of my older movies. It's not the best movie in the world, but this one's Daredevil. This is where Elektra first was seen, I believe. I don't know the whole Marvel world, but I do know that this one has Ben Affleck in it too. He plays Daredevil. I was really into it back then, but not so much now. This is an okay movie. I haven't seen it in a while, but I do remember there was some good parts though. This is Elektra, the director's cut. It's the unrated 2-disc set. This is an okay movie. It's not great also like Daredevil, but what can you say? It's a Marvel film that didn't get too much hype when it came out, but anyway, they're making every Marvel story out there now, so this is with Jennifer Garner, by the way. So here's another Johnny Depp film. This is Dark Shadows, based on the show from way back when. I've never seen it. Johnny Depp plays a character called Barnabas Collins. He wakes up in a century that is totally retro. He had lived when there was horses, and there's a line in the movie where he talks about like him leaving and when could the horses be ready, and they're like, we don't have any horses. So I just thought that was pretty cool, and there's like a bunch of like corny little lines from this movie, but there is one part that I do like, and of all people, Alice Cooper is featured in this one. He talks about him. They actually mentioned to him that Alice Cooper is playing somewhere, and he says, who is she? He does a great job too. The performance is really cool, but it's just really weird seeing him, but it does make sense because his music came out way back then. So, and I also just want to mention that I've seen Alice Cooper just recently with Marilyn Manson, so really cool show. Probably one of the best shows I've seen.